But one of the things that they made official was that Yadi will be a special assistant to John Mozeliak, and I think a lot of people thought he would be on the staff on a daily basis. In our in-house text exchange, I got the sense that Cole was very upset that Yadi would not be there every day, or Charlie. I got that sense. Maybe it was just.
Did you?
I didn't care.
All right.
Now hold on. Is this sarcasm?
Yeah, a little.
Okay.
Oh.
Because we have to establish that.
Because there was
I'm joking.
There was that thing on Twitter that Matt Holliday pulled out of being bench coach because he knew they were going to be awful, and Yadi must have known. So here's my understanding what happened. They wanted Yadi back. I think there's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of responsibility that goes into being a bench coach or being on the staff in terms of things that you're responsible for on a daily basis. Like the bench coach will lay out the entire schedule in most cases for spring training, what field, what goes on there. Got to be a pain in the butt. Now, if you're Yadi, maybe you're not quite ready for that. So I think the initial, I want to jump in, let me see what it's about, maybe was rethought along the way. The good news is that from what I read, not hear, from Derek Gould, is that Yadi will be in uniform sometimes and will work with the big league club as opposed to being put at one of the minor league facilities where he helps the younger catchers, and I think that's a positive.
Can I build off something you said? Because we love to argue semantics, and so in saying this, I'm not.
We'll go back and listen to the tape.
We will. I'm not attacking your language, but you said Yadi is not ready for it. I know exactly what you meant, and I think it's Yadi doesn't want to do it, and I know that's what you meant. To me, it's if you're a $100 million guy, and I think this isn't the exact same situation as Holiday, but they're similar. These men don't need money. They have families. It sounds fun in the offseason to be the bench coach. And then it's December. You start having meetings. Maybe you get ready for spring. You're like, man, I got to leave my house. I got to do the backfields and all that. You could even go back. Maybe this is a stretch, but go back to when they hired Mike Matheny. Did Mike Matheny ever ride the buses in the minors as a manager? No. And some guys do that, which is fine, but some guys didn't make the money that these guys did. If I'm Mike Matheny or Holiday or Yadi, I'd be the same way. I would want to be a big league manager, to use a word you hate, full stop. Yeah, I don't want to do all the other jobs.
Hell no.
And guess what? The guys that grind, I give them all the credit. The Schiltes, the Ollies, those guys didn't play in the big leagues and make $100 million. Even the Joe McEwings, who did play in the big leagues but didn't make $100 million, those guys got to go grind. If I'm Holiday, if I'm Yadi, go back to Matheny, I don't want to take a minor league job. I don't want to take the bench job. That's not fun. I want to be the manager in the big leagues.
So
that's what I want to do.
I agree with you, and I think you're right. And I've actually heard from people in not just Cardinals organization, but other organizations, when you want to bring someone into the coaching staff, and they have literally $100 million in the bank, it's a totally different thing. So I agree with you. But on the other hand, I don't want to speak for Yadi because I did not talk to him, and I'm always careful about that. So I'm saying it could have been this. I don't know because I did not hear it from Yadi. And I'm always like, I don't want to take someone else's information. Like I said, when I don't make up sideline, I write down the quotes. Like, I'm not going to speak for someone unless I actually spoke to them. So I'm just saying by appearances, this could have been kind of the disconnect at some point.
And I agree with you 100%. I've never spoken for Yadi, although I think we all kind of know how Yadi is. But I base this more on who was reporting and who was saying these things. And let's start with where it started, which is our good friend Martin Kilcoyne, who's not a clickbait guy. He doesn't go out of his way to try to always, if he's got a scoop, he breaks it. Martin had good information. So when he came out with this story a couple months ago, I believe that's what he heard, and it was the truth. Here's another part of this. We all know it's very obvious to know who Yadi's friends in the media locally are. And you can listen when they speak or tweet, and it's Benji and Polo and Luis Nola. And all these guys were very publicly, and we love them all. They're all great people, and they're very close to Yadi. They were going on radio shows. They were tweeting a month ago, this is 110%. It's a done deal. I mean, I can find you the exact tweets, and we can find the audio on other radio shows where they essentially said this is happening. people change their minds. I get it. So I'm not ripping on Martin or anybody that said.
Seems like you were taking a shot at Luis Nola, who I love.
I love Luis. But look,
really nice
Matt
guy.
Holliday officially accepted the job last year.
That's not
There
true.
was a press release, and then he gets ready to go and probably leave for the holidays, pun intended. It's like, I don't want to leave. So, of course, Yadi probably wanted to do this a month or two ago and then thought, man, dude, I don't want to be on the backfields. I got my kids.
Listen.
Think about the great job. Here's the great job. The great job is Dwight Schrute, which is, I saw the tweet and it's perfect. The assistant to the regional manager. This isn't even a real job. It's the fun job. Yadi should have this job. This is the job Yadi should have. He should always be around. You come for spring training. You have fun. You teach the catchers. All right, you give a couple emails with Mo. You come a couple times a year. You show up in the dugout. That's the job the $100 million guys want. That's the fun job. 3-4 times a year, you can get away from your family, stay at the Four Seasons, and have fun and eat some nice meals and be with the team. That's the job. You know this, Cam. The $100 million guys want that job.
The special assistant is a real job.
But not really.
However, you can do with it as you choose.
So there's no real responsibilities. Listen, I love Yadi. He should have this job. Every Hall of Famer has this job with other teams. They make appearances. They sign autographs. They're legacy Hall of Fame players. All the guys. Albert should have this job.
Yeah.
Waino should have this job. They're all going to have this job. You make appearances. You go speak at a luncheon. You sign autographs.
What if Mo tells him what to do and says, no, you need to go check this game. Can you go watch these guys in the minors? Can you do this?
There are other jobs, like Ryan Franklin had that, and part of his job, too, was being sort of a player conduit for the front office. Real thing. Also vetting guys that they were thinking of maybe trading for, having him talk to guys in his circle. So there are real response.
How much did he make, though? And by the way, I'm not chirping. But, again, there's a lot of guys, even if you make $10 million in baseball and you retire at 40, you still want to do something. You've kind of gotten used to a big league lifestyle. You still want to make good money. I just think there's a difference of guys like Yadi and Holliday or a Wainwright. When you make $100+ million.
Or Jimmy Edmonds.
Or Jimmy Edmonds. Exactly. I just saw him the other day, actually. I won't mention where because I don't want to tell people and they'll follow him. But Jimmy Edmonds, great guy.
Neighbor of mine.
Yeah.
Jimmy Edmonds. Yeah, because Marty was assistant GM, and, man, he was, like, traveling everywhere, doing this. He had to go to Finland and scout games, and he's like, this ain't it.
That's what I'm saying.
But with Holiday, too, like people on Twitter, and I know Twitter's a different animal. It's not the real world. But Holiday knew that this team wasn't going to be good.
You're dang right he did.
Holiday wanted to do it. I also think there's an element, and I've said this before, like you see a guy like Skip, all of a sudden he's a manager, and you want to eventually manage, you might lose your place in line. So maybe you're premature and you jump into something. But if you're – and he knew they were going to be awful. Matt Holliday had a kid who was the number one pick and who torched minor league baseball and may be a major leaguer this season, right? He's got another kid who's the best high school player in the nation. He's got the wherewithal to travel to wherever he wants to go to watch his kids. You can't if you're putting out the schedule for Field 4 at spring training.
And then, look, by the way, I love Yadi, but the way this turned out is funny. You have to admit it's funny. Because 2 months ago, it's just funny. It's funny in the way that Waino, everything with Waino last year was funny. We love Waino. I'm sorry. It's humorous with the losses and the 200 wins and the concerts. If you're not a person that can appreciate humor, you have to find humor there, okay? We love all these guys. Yeah. They're all going to have statues.
Respect them.
We all love and respect Yadi. You have to find it funny that 2 months ago he was going to be the bench coach. 3 days ago, Mo essentially said that Yadi reported that he would have a job with the organization. Clearly, Mo had not determined what the job was. That's funny.
It is.
And by the way, Yadi should be able to do that because he's the Yad father.
Yep.
He runs the show. I love the fact that even in retirement, Yadi can essentially force himself a job that the team didn't know about. That's beautiful.
He did it as
but it's funny.
It's perfect because he did that as a player.
That's the point. It's so great that he's still doing it.
He's beloved. He's beyond reproach, right? But he left the team to go to his basketball team, and the organization acted like they were fine
That is why it's so funny.
Crazy.
If you can't find humor in that, folks,
It's crazy.
then you can't find humor. And that doesn't mean he's not a Hall of Famer. That doesn't mean we don't love him. The fact that he's 2 years post-retirement and he can say, I have a job with the Cardinals when he technically doesn't, that is hilarious.
I agree, man.
Then they gave him a job 2 days later with a press release.
And then I also saw some people like, the Cards were too cheap to bring him back, or he wasn't a yes man for Mo. That's why they didn't give him the job. And they just want to make money off him tipping his cap to the fans. No. They would have loved to have brought Yadi back. They didn't work it out. There's a lot of things in there that I don't know about, right? But Yadi said, I have a job. They gave him a job. And now Yadi will be around sometimes, which is a plus.
And by the way, when this first came out, I thought a big part of this, and maybe we'll hear about this, but let's be real about Wilson Contreras as a defensive catcher. Who else would you rather? I thought maybe they're thinking, hey, if Yadi comes to spring, he works with this man for 45, 60 days because, look, we all know he's a great hitter. He needs to clean up things defensively. Who would you just signed the dude for 5 years, and if he wants to be a catcher, he's going to be a catcher. Okay, you can't really force the guy. If they want him to DH or outfield more, if that was a thought from the organization, which we have heard that from people in the know, but that man, but okay, Brad Thompson's the one that said.
I know. I disputed that he was going to be in the outfield.
At all? He was in the outfield the previous year with the Cubs.
I disputed that was the plan going forward for this season, which at the end of last season was like he's going to be getting some work in the outfield. That wasn't the plan for him. We saw it when they got rid of Kiz. I mean, they wanted him to get better as a catcher.
But Jim, they announced that. I mean, this is the Cardinals. This is where
I'm just telling you what I know.
Okay, but people that chirp the media for responding to what the Cardinals did and said. The Cardinals are the ones that on that Saturday literally said we're going to start work. This is the St. Louis Cardinals a day of a game saying we're going to work in Wilson Contreras as an outfielder last year. So anybody that gets mad at the media for then discussing what the Cardinals actually said to the media, and by the way, Brad Thompson, who I respect, and he's along with you, he's at the games, he's broadcasting, he's a former player. When he said a couple months ago that he thinks the Cardinals would like to have the conversation about, and if it's 30 games in the outfield, whatever it is, I don't think that came out of nowhere. However, you can't force a 31-year-old, $87.5 million player to play a position he doesn't want to play because that's going to just blow up in your face.
So I love Brad, and we can disagree. I disputed that all along from people I talked to, and I said that's not the plan. They're not. I'm not saying that you'll never see him in the outfield, but the plan to get a lot of usage out of him in the outfield is not the plan. In fact, when they said he was going to be in the outfield at Wrigley, I said never going to happen, and it didn't happen. It depends who you talk to.
Changed.
It depends who you talk to and when you talk to him.
Well, that was the Saturday. It was 2 days before Wrigley, and the plan changed. Just like the plan changed of Holiday wanting to be the bench coach. There was a press release. Just like the plan changed where I'm sure 2 months ago it felt like a great idea for Yadi.
That was the plan. I don't know when I said it.
Why
Maybe there was a plan. I said you're not going to see him in the outfield.
Okay, but the Cardinals.
I'm just telling you.
But this is what bothers me about that specific story. People now, after the fact, this wasn't local. This was the entire baseball world lost its mind on that Saturday. Every baseball reporter that you've talked about, you respect, from the Rosenthals to the Passons, that Saturday said, St. Louis Cardinals, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? It was the story of baseball.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm just saying I disputed that we were going to see that. Even before that Saturday, that there's talk about it, I don't think we're going to see it. I don't know if we said what on the air, but I'm just telling you, I said that's not going to happen based on conversations I had. I think it depends on who you talk to, when you talk to them. I'm not saying that wasn't something they were considering, but it made no sense to me, and I was able to find out that it was discussed and it wasn't going to happen.
But did the plan change? Because that's what I heard.
Sure, it changed at some point.
So like don't be mad at media members for discussing what was.
Who's mad at media members?
All of them.
In general.
Who's mad at media?
In general,
I never
clearly
said
the message from the Cardinals changed on the Saturday to the Monday.
Again,
and I think it was because of the backlash of everybody destroying the Cardinals.
Again.
And probably Wilson Contreras, let's be real, he has an ego, he has an agent. he was freaking dragged through the mud.
Yeah, he was.
So I was there for that, and it was before Saturday. They said it wasn't going to happen. Before the Saturday, I heard it wasn't going to happen. Maybe there's a lag time, but I don't care what media members report, whatever. I don't care. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what I know and what I said.
No, I'm not. This is not versus you.
I know. I'm just telling you.
But like people reacted to Saturday.
Mad
the
about
Cardinals
the
said
media.
that.
I'm not.
The Cardinals don't. Dude, you know how the Cardinals work. They're not going to come out and say something like that off the cuff. Come on.
I'm telling you right now, the Cardinals have had some bad messaging.
This past year is the first time I ever saw it.
Where things are said where not everyone was on the same page.
100%.
And they got to tighten that up.
Yeah. Well, Yadi will do it.
And here's another part of this, by the way. Let's see, because they clearly moved on from Kiz, who is your typical backup catcher. Kiz is your typical 50-game backup. I don't think they view Ivan Herrera as that. So let's also watch in 2024 how many games folks catch.
Yeah, that's fine. And Herrera, Kiz's defensive metrics weren't great either, even though he was great at handling pitchers and they loved him. Herrera's got better in the minor leagues, but that was something they felt he also needed. They loved his offense, but they figured that's something he has to work on is the stuff behind the plate, too.
What's Yadi making, you think?
Oh, for that job?
Yeah.
I have no idea. No clue. I'm just going to say.
What would you guess?
I would say
I'm just
low
curious.
six figures. Without having any idea.
Yadi will be in St. Louis or with the team for a max of 30 days this year. He has zero interest in being anywhere but Puerto Rico, the Mad Hoosier.
There's nothing wrong with that, though. That's what if I was Yadi and I had $100 million, I would want to make 4 to 5 fun trips. Hey, I'll come to spring for a week. Hey, you guys are in Miami. I'll meet you in Miami. I'll come to St. Louis for 2 games. I'll come for the Red Jackets. If I'm Yadi with $100 million, I would want 5 fun weekends where you also work.
I'm with you. But let me ask you this. And I'm not saying they were going to obviously fire Ollie. They stood behind him during the season. But if they made a change and they said, Yadi, you're our manager, will you take it? I think he'd say yes.
1,000%.
He stated that's his goal. Mm-hmm. And like you said, a lot of the major leaguers that have money don't want to be riding buses and have played the game long enough where they probably don't have to ride the buses because they know as much as any. Like, you can't find a baseball intellect better than Yadi's.
God.
He doesn't need to ride the buses. So if something like that came up, he would say yes.
By the way.
I think.
Yes, I agree. Same question I'll pose to you and all of you about Matt Holliday. Remember, they gave Mike Matheny the job. He was coaching his kid a little bit, here and there and throwing BP. I remember doing a story on Tate Matheny. Mike Matheny was going to throwing BP before the game. He was not really in baseball besides, these jobs as special, roving, every once in a while, spring training guys. Don't you think the same is true for Matt Holliday? If last year, or what is this, 2 years ago, whenever it was, if they just said, Matt Holliday, we want you to be our big league manager, he takes that job, I think.
I wouldn't say 100% based on what his kids are doing now, but I would say 80%.
Okay.
80.
I think he takes that job. If you accept the bench coach job and then change your mind, I think you're going to accept the managerial job.
And think about it. If you're Matt and you want to eventually manage at the big league level, and you see Skip was a bench coach, and then he's a manager, you're like, I better get in line, man.
Right. And I don't want to bring the money into it, but I do think there's a different tier of the 100 million guys. Even when we talk about, look, even if you made 10 million and after taxes, and then you're 40 and you have kids, you still need to work.
Yes.
So having a job where if you can get a team to pay you $250,000 a year, right? I mean, if you make $10 million at 40, how much did you actually save? Now, I understand the stock market was great the last 40 years, and your house went up a lot. But still, I don't think you can never work again.
Especially if you bought 2 Lambos.
I know. And you're partying at Harry's all the time?
But do you know, Cam, do you know a lot of guys that are your age? Let's say they made whatever the number is. Let's say $10 million.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot of guys that can retire at, when a hockey player does, let's say 35, and not do anything ever again?
I don't know one hockey player that doesn't do anything.
That's what I'm
ever
saying.
again. Not one. From Marty to Hully to any of those cats. They're all working. Now, some of these guys now, they could – I think a lot of it – I mean, there's some guys that could just walk away and do nothing and do whatever they want, but I do think they get bored. But there's some cats that could just sit on their coin. But I don't see it much.
You trust the wrong guy, and I know this happened to a couple of guys. You trust the wrong guy with your money that told you you'll have this much once you're 10 years out, and then it's time you want to start looking at that. It ain't there anymore, or it's a lot less. One bad decision can cost you a ton of money.
Big time.
And I think, look, if you retired at 35 with $10 million, could you make that work? Absolutely, you could. You're used to the big league lifestyle. If you want to move into the smaller house and start, like me, shopping at Aldi, you could, let's be real, you could make $10 million work. But you're also talking about guys who got used to a lavish lifestyle. They bought a huge house. Now, maybe they downsize a little bit, but they're not going to do the huge downsize. They're not going to stop shopping at Whole Foods. They're not going to stop going on vacations, and you got private schools and college. I'm just saying, like, most of these dudes are in the media, they're in the organization, they're coaching, they're doing something in the game, or they got a real estate business. They're doing what's Chris Pronger doing with wealth management.
Yep. And his what does he have? A
liquor?
No, he's got a liquor out too. His management, and he does something else. He's a travel agent, right? He owns a travel.
I think he has a
company.
luxury travel agent.
That's right.
That's a nice thing to own.
Yeah, you're damn right. You're dang right. Get him in, by the way. Audi Exchange text line.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Eric Wood, 855-282-8255. Charlie, what's up?
One more point. I don't know if we're moving on, but
No, it's all good.
I also enjoyed, and it did get a lot of play, the Boras chirp it's fun. It's just a fun little chirp.
So what do you say exactly?
So let me find the exact quote. Because
while you're finding it, I want to say,
Sure.
Boras chirping the Cardinals is about as surprising as Tyler O'Neill being on the trade block in the first place. That's what Boras does.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to, so I'm not at the winter meetings, okay? It turns out we may not have missed anything. But I've been in those Boras clusters a bunch of times. And he finds teams that have done one of his clients wrong, and he obliterates them. Or if there's not a market that he feels is rich enough for one of his clients, he goes after them. So it's not surprising.
Playing the game.
And he chirped a couple years ago, remember? He said, the birds on the bat, that's the birds on the bank. He's basically saying, they're the poor. Oh, they're the poor franchise. Oh, they're the little medium market that gets $3 million every year. He's like, no, start spending. That was a couple years ago. Can't remember. So here's his, this is from Jeff Jones. Quote, Tyler O'Neill, Jeff Jones quoting Scott Boras. Quote, Tyler O'Neill was 8th in MVP voting, 2 gold gloves, 30 home runs. It's nice to know in the talent evaluation of the Cardinals, they have players who can reach higher than that. I don't know. End quote. First, to be fair, Scott Boras is repping his guy. He's bringing up numbers from 2020 and 2021. This is now 3 to 4 years ago.
Yep.
Okay, we know Tyler O'Neill has been banged up. But I was just curious when I read that. So I texted Jeff Jones. I go, because he was right there. I said, was that a shot at the Cardinals not being good at talent evaluation and letting all these guys go? He said, absolutely. That was the meat of the shot. And so I just think it's kind of funny. Little shot. It's harmless, but it's fun during the winter meetings.
Yeah, I like it.
It's all good.
Cheap chokers.
Yep, you're dang right. What's that guy worth, Boras?
I don't know, but for all the
Couple
people
hundo?
that dislike him, I wish he was my agent.
Yeah, no doubt.
I said that. I did a 2-minute rant during my 15-minute talk of how when you grow up, you think, oh, Scott Boras is bad. Oh, he's bad for baseball. Oh, it's all about the money. Oh, you're greedy. Until you work as a worker, as an employee, and you start negotiating a contract, or maybe your union negotiates for you, and you start seeing them take all of your benefits and not give you a raise and less vacation and less overtime and less personal days. You know what? Actually, I want Scott Boras on my side.
No doubt about it, man. No
It's
doubt.
going to get you more money.
That's what you
You're
want.
going to have an advocate in a arena where sometimes the players outside of the superstars don't have as much leverage as you might think. You have a guy who's giving you built-in leverage.
And this is what's crazy, in my opinion, about sports. Usually, and I'm just saying a big swath of the country, they're like, oh, corporations, they're bad. We need to be more for the worker. And I'm like that too, but I think the majority of people think that. Like, and it's not true, but it's like, corporations are evil, right?
That's what Bernie says.
But in baseball and sports, we kind of flip it. Because we have the St. Louis Cardinals jersey, we usually don't look at the teams, which are the billionaires, like we more chirp the players, right? Oh, that guy's greedy. Okay, well, he's making $100 million or $50 million. The owners are all worth $1 billion. You know, we have this loyalty to the shirt, to the St. Louis Cardinals logo, where it's like, okay, everybody's greedy, by the way, but you're going to pick the side of the billionaires over the greedy millionaire players? I don't know. I know you have to have a balance.
I think it's balanced because we've seen this ownership group and the management swing and miss on talent evaluation. They get chirped for that. But I think a lot of it, too, is you see a player miss the cutoff man or sit out because he has an ouchy ankle, and you're mad about it. So when he's asking for more money than you think he deserves, you're going to chirp him too, whoever that player might be.
I never do that, though, because I would take those contracts. The biggest thing for years that I thought was so stupid was people blamed Matt Carpenter for signing the great extension. He's probably like, send me that contract right now. Let me sign it as soon as possible. It's the Cardinals' fault that they offered him the contract. It's not Matt Carpenter's fault. Everybody here would have signed that contract 42 times.
That's what I said all year long about everyone who texted in, how has Waino not removed himself from the rotation yet? What are you talking about? It's not Waino's job. The opportunity was presented to him, and as a professional athlete, he took advantage of the best opportunity available to him.
And he was going for 200 wins.
Yes.
He would have been taken out of the rotation if they were in a pennant race.
Everybody who are athletes are probably going to be greedy because they want to maximize their career.
Let me ask you this.
Small window, baby.
Let
Not
me
just
ask you
greed, though.
Yes.
It's just business.
Let me ask you this. If the Cardinals were in contention, they were fighting for a spot, would Waino have taken himself out of the rotation, do you think?
I don't know exactly who takes who out, but
They would have taken him out.
around the All-Star break when he was starting to he took time off, yeah, he's out. I don't know if he says it or Mo says it or Ali says it, but
I
he's
mean,
out.
you think he would say, "Yeah, I get it. Let's win this."
I think Waino has a lot of pride. I love Waino, but I think even at the end, Waino, even if he gave up 8 earned runs the outing before, I truly believe he thought he'd go out and shove the next outing. And that's why you have to save athletes from themselves.
Yes. Thank you.
Ali better
That's fair.
get these guys off to a good start in 24. If April and May look like 23 did, Yadi might be on speed dial to try to save the nosedive as interim manager. Danny Boy in Iowa. What's up, homie? What's up, baby?
I wonder.
What's up, baby?
I also think a part of this Yadi thing is that, look, we know Matheny was beloved, but it's not even close to the same as Yadi. And now Matheny, time heals all wounds, but Matheny goes from this guy who is beloved to everybody ripped on him, and I don't want to say hate, but like at the end of his managerial tenure, people did not like Mike Matheny. So you have a balance with a beloved player in Yadi who has more juice than anybody
So now the
in
fans
the
are being
organization. Yadi has, listen, I know Mosaic runs the show. Yadi has more juice with the fan base than anybody in the organization. He has more juice than Albert because he stayed here he has more juice than Waino.
Yes.
So also, like, let's be real. If you're a manager, you're going to get fired eventually. So what if you make Yadi the manager? He starts chirping. He puts up an Instagram post.
Of Mo?
It's this beloved player that everybody loves. You have to fire him. You're going to have to probably fire him eventually because that happens with everybody.
Yeah, it could be chaos.
It's super awkward.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
get why people want him to be the manager right now. Because look,
like Hawley.
Let's say the Cardinals fans got their way. Oh, they fired Ollie Marmol. All you guys are happy. If they signed Stephen Vogt, who basically just retired and has very little to possibly no coaching experience, everyone would be rioting. How could the Cardinals hire somebody who has no coaching experience? But you won it with Yadier Molina? Just because he wore the uniform?
No, not because Yadi was a different kind of
He was a
player.
coach.
Like, Yadi was the guy that
A coach of his Puerto Rican basketball team?
Nah, man.
Owner. That's an owner.
He controlled the game, dude.
No,
he
no.
saw everything.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
I understand, but if you ever talk to other players, they talk about his baseball knowledge, right? And players going to Yadi for stuff. So there's a guy who could understand, would fit into, never coached or managed before, outside international, where Yadi does have experience, but in Major League Baseball, there's a guy that you think would jump to the front because of who he was as a player.
I'm sure Stephen Vogt would have been the same way, and this city would have rioted if Stephen Vogt was the manager.
But you said it was just because of the uniform.
Yeah.
It's not. It's because of who Yadi was while he wore. If they said Aaron Miles is going to be the new manager, you think just because he wore the uniform, everyone would be fine with it?
I don't even know who that is. So
Then you may step down.
Are you saying because the level of
I don't know who Scott Spezio's dad is.
player that Aaron Miles is? Like, I agree. By the way, we all
Because
love
of
Daniel
the type
Descalso.
of player.
Okay.
By the way, Daniel Descalso will be interviewed today for my new YouTube channel.
Here's my point. And we all love Daniel Descalso. Daniel Descalso, who is fantastic and was here for a championship, he's not Yadi. You can hire Daniel Descalso as the manager and fire him 4 or 5 years later, and it's just baseball. I just think Yadi's such a legacy guy.
I agree with
Yadi
you.
also has an ego, and he will show it.
What?
Okay, like, do we all
will show
not
it.
remember the Instagram post?
Yes.
When
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
I was there for the deal when Mike Matheny made this innocuous comment. It was not anything super critical. He just said, and here's a guy who was a catcher for his whole life. Of course you're tired every once in a while in July and August when it's 100 degrees. Of course you're tired. He made this comment. Yeah, I looked out. I don't remember exactly, but Yadi looked tired. Yadi took that as the most offensive thing that's ever been said to him.
Oh, yeah.
Came out on Instagram. It became a huge thing. He just said he looked tired. Yadi's like, I prepared for 180 games.
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
think about the situation the Cardinals are in, where Yadi has kind of marched to the beat of his own drum. They wanted him back because they felt the team needed that sort of attitude. They were willing to take a quote-unquote rusty nail like Lance Lynn or bring Yadi back because they have that kind of fire that I think they feel the team lacked last year.
And I think with Yadi, truthfully, I would have Yadi at spring training the entire time working with Wilson Contreras. Pay him and then have him just, hey, you can text and call throughout the year, but for 2 months, why don't you work every day with Wilson Contreras? And I think that provides tremendous actual value.
I agree with that, and I think the Cardinals would think it would go beyond that just to have Yadi around sometimes to bring that fire that he would bring.
I agree with that, too. Yadi's the Dwight D. Eisenhower of baseball, a field general that could become president the second he stepped off the battlefield.
That's a good
I like
comparison.
that, Jobu. Jobu's rum right there, baby. What's up, homie?
Because you're the general.
Yeah,
You're the
dude.
general.
Yes.
You're not just a guy.
No, you're in charge.
You're not rank
baby.
and file, which we love rank and file.
Of course.
But there's a difference between Daniel Descalso, who we love, and Yadi. There's just a
The
difference.
general. You're damn right. I like that, Jobu, baby. What's up?
How come you rode in the lefty in the 7th inning, Yadi, and gave up? That wouldn't go that well.
But that's-
because Yadi's. Because it would be awesome from
awesome.
an entertainment standpoint.
That's why I want it.
I want it now, dude.
That's why I want it.
It's like having Holly work for the Blues.
Could you imagine Yadi when reporters start going after him? I would watch that every night.
So would I.
I mean, I already do, but I would.
Instead of Tony TV, it'd be Yadi TV.
I would just record that every night.
Man, a lot going on, baby.
I mean, Yadi would probably get in a fight. And I say that with love. You would have your dead serious. Your manager would fight a player from the other team. And that's beautiful. Like, what if, remember Torey Lovello a couple years back when Torey Lovello, what did he say? He goes, didn't he say that this mofo's stealing every pitch?
Yes.
Yadi's framing, and he's a great framer, so he's stealing pitches. Torey Lovello just said, this MFer, whatever he said, this MFer, you're giving him every pitch. And Yadi's, really? Oh, I'm an MFer? Like Brandon Phillips, you're going to call me a B word? Like, he would fight the other player. It's
Yeah,
great.
I know.
I want to see that.
I do
Yeah,
too.
but what if it's post-game scrum, or he's at the podium, and it's Hoxie, and he says, Yadi, seemed like that was a bad decision to go with Gio in that situation.
I want all of that.
Would he fight Huckman?
Not physically, but yes, verbally, which I want. I want all of that. I want it every night for 162.
Like, what do you know?
But it won't end well.
What do you know?
But it won't end well.
Yadi's the smartest player that's ever played the game and is respected by fans and players. I'll take him over iPad any day.
But that's to me the point. It's not just because, Cole, he wore the jersey. It's because of who he was when he wore that jersey. It's not just a fan favorite that was a Cardinal. This is a guy who was widely considered one of the smartest guys in baseball.
Yeah, baby.
Sure he was.
Where's Matty Whitener? Haven't heard him in a while. Is there not room for another black man on Hot Take Central? Oh, dang.
Wow, was that from Tuna?
That was from the Prodigal. Prodigal?
Goal. Got it right the first time.
Prodigal.
We had Tuna on yesterday.
Tuna's on every
He was
Wednesday.
great.
Sloppy seconds at 9:30.
What was the big takeaway from Tuna yesterday?
He thanked me via text. You ever do that with you guys?
No.
Oh, he thanks me out there.
Yeah.
Well, but he'll then thank me later. Say, hey, really appreciate you guys having me on every
Yeah,
Wednesday.
I like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't give
Little
out my
things.
number to Tuna.
Well, he was on our bus text.
Yeah. Oh, you're on it now.
Codigo.
You're on it now.
He likes
Jimmy's on it now.
It's actually really fun. I have a lot of texts that I hate.
on Mizzou Saturdays.
That one's fun on college football
big
because
time.
there's a lot of good chirps. Tuna still can't really admit that Mizzou's good.
Nope.
He's the only one that thought Alabama would be good because apparently this is their first good year.
It's the first good year.
Tuna, you know I love you, and I know he's listening. He literally listens
I know he
every
does.
day.
I love it. I do. Well, Jimmy's on there now. So we just haven't had any football.
But now football's over.
Yeah, I
Except
know.
for Army Navy.
Yeah, which I should have got that on the.
And Ohio State, what's the line on that game now?
Was it yesterday?
Isn't that crazy how
0.5.
that's crazy?
It's dropping like flies.
But is it?
No, because they have half their team going.
It does make me less interested to watch it.
Yeah.
You gotta say
This is like crime. This is like crime. You can't say that. You can't tell facts when people use emotion. You can't say, by the way, college football is the only sport that literally has their playoffs going while their off season is going. You have the transfer portal that is rocking and rolling. People are leaving and already signing while these teams are playing bowl games. It makes no sense that Ohio State's players would all transfer before their postseason game. This is the only sport that does it. It's really stupid. But because if you say, hey, Ohio State doesn't even know who's going to play quarterback, they've had 1 million people transfer, you're not allowed to admit that because that's making an excuse for when Ohio State potentially loses, even though the spread has already dropped 6 points.
Did you see that Brock Glenn went in the portal? That's the FSU quarterback, and he's transferring to Ohio State, and he will be eligible to play in the college, in the Cotton Bowl.
All right. I hope it's a great
Brock
game.
Glenn.
I hope it's a great game.
Did
I
you
think
say
it will
something
be.
about Otani? Did somebody bring that up early in the show?
I
Is
feel
there
like
an
I did.
announcement? Something? Is he going to Toronto?
I think he's coming across
Otani
as a
and
Karen, to be honest with
Russo.
you. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, that's what
it's
it
a
was.
2-minute clip. Okay, this is another thing where Twitter, this is where people in the media are purposefully disingenuous. Chris Russo's crazy, by the way. He always brings up like historical references. Do you think this guy is General Patton? Like he says stuff like that. He goes on a 2-minute rant. He's mad at Otani for the secrecy of his free agency. You know, the Dodgers weren't allowed to say that they met with Otani. Otani won't even tell people what his dog's name is. Oh, he's so secretive. So Russo does this 2-minute rant. Is this the peace talks in Tehran?
You got it?
He also goes, is this the atomic bomb?
Is this
so
worth the
people are
listen?
saying that it was racist because Otani is Japanese, which he didn't mean that. He said the wrong thing. He said a million things.
Atomic bomb.
He did not mean that in a racist way.
Is it worth the 2 minutes?
Well, anytime
Play
he
it.
talks.
We got
yeah.
2 minutes. Let's go, baby. I want to hear this. That's why I brought it.
The fact that we're even discussing this is a complete joke. This Otani scenario sweepstakes, do you know when he won the MVP, he wouldn't even tell you what his dog's name was because he had his dog there when he won the American League MVP. Anybody who pays Otani $600 million needs their heads examined anyway. He's not going to pitch next year. He's a DH. And tell me this with Otani. How many times were the Angels in a pennant race in the middle of September? They won 73 games last year. He missed the last 25 games, cleared out his locker room, did not even tell you what's going on, and left the team. So anybody who goes out there and gives him $600 million needs their freaking head examined. Let's get that off the Let's get that going here first. And what is the big secret? Geez, he's a free agent. He's talked to 6 teams. Giants, he was in Dunedin with the Blue Jays. Obviously, Roberts does that. I mean, the Cubs are in the mix. The Angels. Well, what is this, the atomic bomb? We're not allowed to find out. This is baseball. He's a celebrity. This is what it's about. This is stupid. That somehow, some way, if you reveal that you had a breakfast with Otani, you should be basically thrown out with the bathwater. I mean, he was good job for Roberts. And I'll tell you, a terrible job by the Dodger general manager, Stevie. This guy surprised by Roberts' decision. How about the general manager? Roberts is manager of the year. He's done a great job with the team. How about the general manager have the guts to say, you know what, give my manager credit. He had the right to say what he said. He was asked a question by the media. He didn't lie. And by the way, at the winter meetings,
trying to find it at any point. I can't find it.
It's only 2 minutes.
The media, they ask him a question. Roberts gives him the right answer. And then the GM throws him out by himself.
There we go.
Well, the reason I wanted you to keep going is only because the only reason he made another reference to World War II, which was not about Japan. And so what I'm saying is, did he say the wrong thing? Of course.
Yeah.
I don't think him saying the atomic bomb was racist, is my point.
No.
So
he was like,
I agree
the atomic bomb was very secretive.
I agree with
Nobody knew about it. That's what he meant.
Exactly right.
Anybody thinking he said that because Otani's Japanese, I think that is disingenuous.
people, to
That's
me,
why I wanted you to keep going, because is this Mussolini? Is this Mussolini and Winston Churchill getting together for the Tehran?
Yeah, dude.
It wasn't all about being Japanese.
I don't like yelling rants.
I love him.
But that was delicious.
I like
that was
him too.
great.
I like him
And
too.
I will say this. We live in a world where everyone wants to make something out to be racist when it's not. To me, something like that and calling it racist actually hurts the cause of trying to get rid of racism. You can't look for it everywhere where it doesn't exist.
They're trying.
And I agree
You
it
gotta
was the
stop
wrong
with that.
it was the wrong thing to say, but it was a mistake, in my opinion.
And calling someone a racist is like one of the worst things you could call
God,
somebody.
yeah.
So you better be right about it.
I know.
You can't just throw that out there. And then we do that too much.
You're
And
dang
again,
right, Jimmy.
I do think, though, this gets to, it's kind of like the Chris Nagus thing. If you actually ask 100 people on Family Feud, maybe 5 people, oh, that's racist. But again, the majority of people, right, left, middle, would be like, no, that's not racist.
The number one answer on Family Feud is always making whoopee.
Making whoopee.
Yeah.